Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill. May I please first speak in Malay followed by English? Tuan Timbalan Speaker, pada fahaman saya, pihak MUIS tidak begitu terjejas dengan pindaan ini. Saya menyokong pindaan ini untuk memastikan tahap pentadbiran dan kepemerintahan bagi setiap agensi awam kita kerana ini memastikan mutu dan tahap kebertanggungjawatan dan ketelusan terus didukung. Pada masa yang sama, ada di antara saranan dalam pindaan ini yang tidak asing bagi MUIS yang sudah pun mempunyai dan telah mengimplementasikan standard kebertanggungjawatan dan ketelusan yang ditetapkan pemerintah di bawah AMLA. Pelantikan Ketua Eksekutif MUIS tetap berdasarkan persetujuan Majlis MUIS dengan persetujuan Menteri. Ini memastikan pindaan ini tidak melemahkan tanggungjawab atau pengaruh ahli-ahli Majlis MUIS dalam pelantikan Ketua Eksekutif berdasarkan pengalaman dan kemahiran setiap ahli Majlis MUIS. Saya juga ingin memaklumi sokongan dan juga pendanaan pihak pemerintah bagi fungsi-fungsi korporat dan pentadbiran MUIS yang telah membenarkan MUIS untuk menyalurkan wang pendermaan dan zakat dari masyarakat Islam pada keperluan-keperluan masyarakat yang lain. Izinkan saya meneruskan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is an important bill to consolidate the different acts governing the various public sector bodies. In principle, I support this bill. However, I have a couple of concerns for clarification. Like many others in this House, I support Clause 6 that makes provisions and grants authority for public sector bodies to share information. This is necessary to allow greater expediency and efficiency for data and information to be shared among different public sector bodies to help Singaporeans, be it in healthcare, education, housing, retirement adequacy, or social and financial support. However, this sharing of data and information needs to be made expedient, efficient, and transparent, not just between public sector agencies, but also within each agency between their different departments and units. There have been instances where the different departments or units within one public sector agency do things in silo and are not cognizant of what the other departments or units within that same public sector agency are doing. For instance, I've received feedback from residents about their experience when executing the purchase or sale of their flats, in securing housing loans from HDB, or in managing the funds related to housing through the CPF board. There have been occasions where residents lamented while they have been approved a housing loan through the Housing Finance Department, but when executing the sale or purchase of the flat through the Sales Department, there seems to be a lack of information sharing between the departments. This has made the transaction experience faced by residents nothing short of frustrating and confusing. For some residents I've met, their home loan eligibility approval or extension by the Housing Finance Department has not been conveyed to the Sales Department, which then requires them to make additional CPF or cash payment instead during the sale or purchase transaction for their flat. You can imagine their frustration and confusion. Another example is the sharing of information by the MOE with institutes of higher learning or self-help organizations such as Mendaki, CDAC, SINDA, or EA. Having been involved in a self-help organization and a couple of public sector institutions, it is a common refrain heard among strategic planners or managers that a more open sharing of student and cohort education-related information would be useful in designing and implementing programs or interventions by the self-help groups that can better help our students. The sharing and use of information and data within each and across public sector agencies will make it more efficient and effective in helping Singaporeans address their healthcare, housing, education, or social and financial assistance needs. However, to what extent will the sharing of information or data make this possible? Will Singaporeans find it easier to purchase a flat and secure a housing loan at the same time, or visit their choices of doctors across different restructured hospitals and have their their medical information shared, or have access to the necessary social or financial assistance without having to repeatedly provide their personal or family information to different public service offices? Nonetheless, it is understandable that there is a concern with the confidentiality and privacy of such information when sharing with self-help organizations or public sector institutions. Hence, I support Clause 7 that sets out the conditions and extent of the proposed law that would protect the confidentiality, privacy, and use of such information. The other concern I have is in Clauses 15 and 16. I support that the appointment of the Chief Executive of a public sector agency is to be approved by Minister with the concurrence of the Public Service Commission. However, from what I understand, the removal of the Chief Executive can be solely decided by the Minister. There seems to be a lot of power vested in the Minister to decide on the removal of the Chief Executive of a public sector agency. I would like to propose for consideration that this decision for the removal of the Chief Executive be made in consultation with the Board of Directors, advisors, or governors of the Public Service Agency as well. Sufficient consideration can be made regarding the Chief Executive's prior experience, background, or contributions to the agency should be considered collectively and consultatively, rather than largely by the Minister alone. Similar practices are carried out in the private sector, where the decision to employ or dismiss senior executives of a company are made in consultation with the Board of Directors or advisors of the company. Notwithstanding the concerns I've raised, I support this bill.